not understanding this design principle will make your visuals fail. And so I'm going to show you the secret to better design flow that will make your designs look 10 times better and 10 times clearer. So if you take a look at this design, what is the single most important piece of information on this design? I'll be honest, I don't even know myself, and I'm the one that made it. The reason why you can't really tell what's important here is because there's no sense of hierarchy. Now, I design visual identities, and this is my journey as I share what I discover and learn more about this fascinating field of identity system design. So I kind of act like an architect. I design visual blueprints for systems and structures of an identity, and identities can be anything for products, it can be for brands, books, TV shows, even parks. And so to set the scene of what we have here, this is a identity or a fake identity for like a renovator company. So they do home renovations, that's the product they sell, and this graphic, its intended purpose is obviously to bring in business for the business. And the thing that they're actually selling here is in here. It's this. This is their hook or whatever. They want to provide free interior design consultations at your home. That's the goal of this brand, is to get people to read this, or not the brand, but this graphic is to get people to read this and then contact them so they can, get their business, blah, blah, blah. So the reason why this design fails is because there's no hierarchy. Now, hierarchy is the level of importance of information. So we can just say the importance of information. And there's a couple of ways that we can create hierarchy. One of the best ways is through scale. So if I have a big square and a little square, this guy seems like it's more important. In fact, we've already created a piece of hierarchy here in the last 30 seconds. Right here, this guy is bigger than this. So there's hierarchy. This seems more important to this. Or in other words, this line of text seems supplemental to that large word there. Now, hierarchy can be shown through scale. It can also be shown through position. So here in the West, we read from left to right and top to bottom. And so objects that are in the top left are going to seem more important than objects in the bottom right. And then there's a difference of hierarchy in color. The importance of the color here is dependent on the identity system that's provided. So if green is a primary color, then and white is a secondary color, using green sparingly on specific items, like for example, if we set this word to green, it makes this piece of text seem more important to this one because it's in a different color. Now here's the thing about hierarchy, just one more thing to mention, is that it is domain specific. That means that there's different needs of hierarchy depending on where the design shows up. So if it's in a website, there's different hierarchy. In social media, there's a separate level of hierarchy, and in print, like a magazine or a newspaper, there's a separate need for hierarchy. And that's exactly what we're going to visualize here. So I'm going to take this design and I'm going to adjust the hierarchy. In other words, I'm going to adjust the importance of information here for these different domains, for a website, for social media, and for print. And I'm going to turn this into a system that can be repeated for the identity of this brand. And a system like this helps the production of making creative. It helps that process go so much smoother and faster. So let's start with the website. So let's enable this. And how would I adjust the elements here for a website? So the first thing that I do is I cleared up the canvas and set all the elements aside. And then I had to take a look at them and figure out what is the most important piece of information here. That way I can keep that in mind as I go through the design. Now I am focusing primarily on hierarchy for this example. So it's not going to be the most amazing, innovative piece of design that you've ever seen, but it is going to illustrate why hierarchy is so important and how this will fix designs so that they make sense, they're clear, and the message isn't going to fall flat. So this is the hierarchy system that I came up with for a website. Now I'm not going to pretend like this is the greatest website design ever. I don't really do website design, but the hierarchy principles do apply and it still matters here. So taking a look at this design, can we now answer the question, what is the most important piece of information on the page? And what you might point to is either this picture or this block of text here. And the reason why you can tell that this is the most important piece of information on the page is because we're using position. This is in the top left. Scale, it's huge. And both of these elements are the same size. And so they're seen together as almost one element in terms of their hierarchy. And also color. This is green, and the only other place where we see this green is here. So green is used as the headline color, denotes new information or important information. So that's the hierarchy system. We have large text set in a different color, and on the left side towards the top where we think things are more important. That's where we look first to read things. And then all of the other elements are smaller. They sit around these most important elements. And so they're seen as less important. So if you look at this and you only look at the most important thing, you get an idea of what this website is trying to say, is that they offer free interior design consultations at your home. And if you need more information, it's right there accessible. You can give them a call. All right, now let's move on to a social media advertisement. If we were advertising free interior design consultations on a social media platform, what would a graphic like this look like? So here's what I've come up with. There's a million bajillion different ways of running a social media ad. And there's a bunch of different ways to look at this, but I'm trying to think of this in terms of systems and reproducibility. So let me show you the usefulness here is if we want to change out any of the information, we can do so quite easily. But first, let me actually break down what the hierarchy here is. So first and foremost, we have this picture. This is number one because it's so large. This is the most important piece of information. It's so big, it's depicting the dream outcome. Then we have this up here. This takes next precedent because of its position. It's on top and it states what they do. Next, what we want to draw attention to is the review. We want whoever sees this advertisement to know that this is a great company to work with. And the only other thing that I would do to draw more attention to this is I would add their star rating. So, I mean, of course, we're going to be pulling from our 5-star reviews. So let's just grab a nice gold color and I would put these just like that. So now the bright stars with this green color draw emphasis and place importance on the review here. And then the next thing is the phone number, because the phone number is in large text. It's the next level of importance. So we have here 1, 2, 3, 4, and then these two fall below that. So that's what I'm looking at in terms of the hierarchy there. But like I mentioned, I'm thinking of this in terms of a system. If we want to produce a bunch of graphics to put out there as advertisements, well, things have to be able to be swapped around and changed. So what I can do is I can pretty easily come in here and I can change the review to whatever it is, right? The phone number stays the same. I don't have to mess with that. But this picture, I can totally change out. So if I bring this picture in, all I need to do is replace this. And now we have a different advertisement that we can use. Or the next thing we can do is we can specify what it is that we're providing. So maybe we don't want to say that it's just basic home renovations, but instead we might say just a free consultation. So if I delete this, now I have a different headline, just like that. And I will bold this just to show its importance there. Center that, boom, there we go. So thinking in terms of systems, I now have a completely separate piece of creative that I can put out, that this company can put out there as an advertisement. And it's super easy, and it literally took me like a minute to do. So it's a hierarchy system that we can easily iterate on and create new graphics out of. All right, next, a magazine spread. How would we structure our hierarchy for a magazine? Well, part of it is taking a look at all of these elements. Some of this we don't need. Some of this is actually a waste of space. It has zero importance, absolutely zero. So things that we're actually going to get rid of is something like that, and even something like our review here, because the purpose of this magazine spread is different. It's to show what we do and that we're qualified at doing it. So here's what I'm going to do here. We'll just put this to design together now. Now here is the hierarchy for a magazine spread. Now again, there's a bajillion different ways that you could depict this, but this is what I went with. So we have number 1, this is the most important thing. And then the next thing your attention comes to is number 2, because there's contrast between the white wall and the black logo. And then you'll come down here and you see these things. So I come to the QR code. It's the most noticeable thing because it's so large. And there's more contrast here. So this is what I would consider as 3. And then home renovations is 4. So that's the hierarchy system there. And again, this spread is a system. So if I wanted to switch this out with this picture, all I have to do is change out the photo like so. And now I have a different spread that I can use. And the thing is, a spread like this still gives plenty of information to let the viewer know what it is that I provide as a service. So it's a home renovation service. This is one of the projects that we've done. This is who does it. This is where to contact us. So it's super simple and stripped back, and the service that we're providing is pretty clear. And then when someone reads the QR code, or they scan the QR code and it takes us to the website, we have the offer on here, and they know what the offer is because of the hierarchy. So we've gone from these disparate, unrelated elements to customizing the hierarchy for different needs. We have a website, we have social media, and we have a magazine spread. And these are all systems that I've built out, so you can customize them and change them. So this is hierarchy, or in other words, it is the importance of information on a design. And the hierarchy on these new designs is so much better. We can actually tell what is important because of this. So if you want to check out this video where I took a complex ad and I simplified it to make it more clear, kind of like I did with this one, then you can watch it here. But thanks for watching. Peace out.